Anytime there's civil unrest where you kind of have a lot of need to deploy some level of protection, during the George Floyd riot or during some of the election rioting that was going on, being able to deploy technology to areas that's needed, been able to do a nice job of. When we've had natural disasters, there's a hurricane that hit Asheville, North Carolina, that caused a bunch of rain, a bunch of flooding. We had a large retail customer who had some stores that were damaged in the area. The initial ask was that we deploy a solar-powered SmartGuard solution to protect the store from break-ins, right, from looting and that kind of stuff that sometimes goes on in those types of situations. In this case, we deployed a SmartGuard solution. I think it was literally 24 hours. They called us in, and 24 hours later, we had a person out installing the solar-powered SmartGuard solution. We got it up and running and got remote video access, so the store was protected. And what we found was the people that were gathered in the parking lot were not looting the store. It was the community looking to buy generators and tarps and tools that they needed to fix their homes or to power their homes. First thing in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning in line, trying to buy equipment. The customer actually decided, hey, we're going to, even without power, we're going to open and sell these guys the stuff that they need. One of the challenges that came out was because the store had no power, they didn't have communications either, so they couldn't take credit card payments. We were able to leverage the power of SmartGuard, and it was operating on Starlink. We worked with the IT team to get the store internet access so they could process credit cards. A big problem that the people had that would show up is they didn't have cash because ATMs weren't working. So they couldn't buy the stuff that they needed. It was a really unique story where SmartGuard not only offered some protection to the store, but also served the community in giving the ability for the community to buy the equipment that they needed by sharing its internet connection that it uses to send the video over. So it made a big difference. We ended up doing it in a couple of stores, so that kind of worked really well, really fast. And they had another store down the street, and we ended up doing the same thing. And it was more for giving the store the ability to get internet and credit card processing than protecting the store. We had another really neat story had a water spring in northern Idaho, in the middle of nowhere, that they wanted some protection. Had made some changes the community wasn't happy about. So they wanted to protect this water spring because it's where they collected all the water for some of the natural spring water that they sell. And it was in a super remote place, 2 hours from cellular service. We were able to put a SmartGuard up that operates on Starlink and provide protection in this place that they had really struggled. They couldn't even get guard service because the closest residence was like an hour and a half away. It was a 3-hour round trip for any guard. It's pretty crazy. Actually, it was kind of funny. I went there. I took the Starlink with me to go put it in. I got there and the Starlink wouldn't work. So I had to call support, and I couldn't call them. So I had to drive an hour and a half to get on the phone with Starlink support. And then they told me what to do. And then I drove back, and it still didn't work. So then I had to drive back an hour and a half to get cell service to call them back and say, hey, that didn't work. Can we do something else? That place has been up for probably going on 3 years. And there's more stories of quick wins where our customers needed us to deploy an asset quickly to provide a level of protection because they couldn't get guard service or it just didn't make sense.